My mom got mad at me for swearing in my last video, so we're gonna try to not do that. It's so hard. Did I even say that right? I don't know, man. God. Hello, friends, and welcome. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you my go-to glam. This look I'm wearing right now. Okay, so this is my second time taking this video. The first one, we didn't have our mic on the entire time. So yeah, we shot this entire video yesterday with no mic on, so that's how I feel about that. So yeah, if you want to learn this, it might not look simple, but it's actually super simple glam look. Yeah, keep on watching. Okay, so let's just hop right in, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to be using, for this look, I'm going to be using the Morphe M5, I can never say these, the Morphe 35G palette. These palettes are very similar, but this is what they look like. Unlimited smoky eyes, for real. And the Morphe 35F, so 35F and 35G. They're very, very similar, as you can tell. But when you hold them side by side, this one has a lot more gold shades in it, and this one has a lot more of like the lighter shades in it, so obviously we had to get both of them. Okay, so our face was nice and clean. That's a good sign. We got our coffee. Okay, so if you watched my last video, you know that I always, where's the brush? You know that I always start by painting my eyelids with Tarte Shape Tape. It's my go-to concealer. It's the best concealer ever. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and paint this all over our lid. Any kind of eyeshadow primer would work, or any kind of concealer. I've heard like the MAC, what is it called? The MAC Paint Pod or something like that is really great for an eyeshadow base. But honestly, concealer does the job. So, but again, if you want the Tarte Shape Tape, you definitely have to order it if you're in Canada, because they have like they have a contract with Ulta, and we don't have Ulta in Canada, so yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and paint this all over our lid. So I'm gonna start with the 35G. I'm gonna start with this kind of golden, bronzy color, yeah. Okay, so whenever I start with my eyeshadows, I always start with a flatter end brush. This one is the M445. My dyslexia cannot say these numbers and letters together. Okay, let's try again. I'm using the Morphe M456 brush. It's a flatter end brush, and we're gonna use that to just dig right into our first color. Tap off your brush, always. We swear by that over here. And then we're going to pat this color just right onto the corner of our eye. And I don't blend it yet, I'm just patting the color on. Okay, now I'm going to take, now that I got enough color there, I'm going to take a rounder brush, dig into that color again a little bit, and now we're going to buff it out. So I bring it a little bit into my crease, up into my eyelid, and then just round little circles in the corner. Okay, so I'm going to take a skinnier, it's the M506 brush. It's a skinnier blending brush. It's very small. I prefer it a lot better just for doing more precise details in your looks. And I'm going to be using, to smoke it out a little bit, I'm going to be using My Ride Is Here out of the Conspiracy palette. And so we're just going to dig into that just a little tiny bit. You could essentially, if you're scared of black, you could essentially use like a darker brown. So even like something like this shade would probably work, or even like this one's a little bit darker. You could use something like that if you don't want it to be too dark, but we're gonna go a little bit dark. So we're gonna dig into that black, tap it off, and I'm gonna work this just like in the corner of my eye. I'm not gonna bring it all the way up like I did with the brown, but we just want to add a little bit of depth to the corner of our eyes. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with the light brown and just blend those two colors together. You'll see me going back and forth between almost all the colors that I use throughout the whole video, just to make sure everything's blended in real nice. Okay, so now that our black and brown are blended together, I'm going to take that same brush that I just used to pat the color on, and I'm gonna use this, I like to call it, so I call the shade Pepper. I don't know why, it's probably hard to pick it up on camera, but this shade right here, it has like a gold, it's like a black shade, but it has like a gold shimmer in it, so to me it kind of looks like salt and pepper, just like a little bit. Again, I have no idea what the shade names are, so I'm sorry. But yeah, we're gonna call this Baby Pepper, and we're gonna pat that right on the corner of our eye. Again, I'm patting, I'm not blending, just because we want the gold pigment to show up. And I'm just going to pat that over where I just put the black. No shade to Morphe, but these shimmery shades, like, this one's the worst. Well, this one I found is worse, but I'm sure these ones would do the same. They do get a lot of fallout, but I always just take a little bit of makeup remover and just wipe it right off after, before I do my foundation. Okay, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of that brown. And more black shimmer. Okay, now we're going to move on to our eyelids. So it's a M124 and it's a flat edge brush, and I'm going to take this gold color and I'm just going to pat it right onto my lid. And you can blend it into the darker colors as well a little bit too. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit lighter champagne color. I think it was this one right here. And I'm going to dust it just a little bit closer to the corner of my eye. Okay, so I'll be right back. I'm gonna go clean up my under eyes, and then we'll be back to do my face. BRB. Okay, so I'm gonna be using the Professional primer. I feel like literally everyone uses this primer. However, I am wanting to switch because this primer is a little bit drying, and lately my skin has been a little bit dry, so we have not been cooperating. But that's all I have, so that's all we're going to use today. Okay, So normally I would 100% use a beauty blender for my foundation. However, I took the 30-second quiz. You've probably seen this on Instagram a million times like I have. It's called okay, hopefully I don't butcher this. Makiage. I hope I did that right. Yeah, it's a foundation online, and you take a couple second quiz, and then they pick a shade for you and send it to you. And honestly, the shade they sent me is pretty damn close. It's like a little tiny bit off, and especially now that it's summer and I'm getting a little bit more tan. I say that like I'm not tan at all. Okay. Anyways, and they always recommend to use a brush, although I would normally always use a beauty blender. However, I've tried it both ways with this foundation, and beauty blenders just don't work with this foundation, which is super strange to me. So we're using a brush for the first time. Well, okay, I've done this before, but we're using brushes with this foundation. And if I was to use something like this foundation, if I was to be using my Born This Way by Too Faced, I would 100% be using a beauty blender. But just something about this foundation, you need a brush for. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just brush that all over our face. We're gonna look a little crazy, but that's fine. Brush this on with the brush, I'm more like just dabbing it. So I'm kind of doing the same thing as if I was using a beauty blender, like same technique I suppose, but just with the brush. And it's like a shorter, stiffer brush. You wouldn't want to use like something like this. Obviously this isn't gonna work. This one's a little bit shorter, so it works pretty nice. It's a little bit stiffer, so. Okay, I promise this foundation's the right shade. My light is just making it look a little bit lighter than it is. Okay, now that we got our foundation on, before we set it, I like to do my concealer before I set my foundation, just so everything gets set together. And again, I'm using Sharp. I always say Sharp. Tarte Shape Tape. There we go. Come on, Taylor, get your shit together. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with Laura Mercier setting powder. I'm actually going to just keep using my beauty blender that I was using to blend my concealer. And I'm just going to dip that right into the powder. And I guess this is kind of like baking, but like I don't normally bake. I don't keep it on. Like I'll just blend it right in. While some people like do something called bake, where they'll just leave it on their face and then brush it off. But I just like blend it right in. Okay, and then I'm going to take a bigger brush over here, and I'm just going to brush the Laura Mercier all over my face now. Okay, so now that we look nice and crazy and white and pasty, time to bring a little bit of color back into our face, which I need desperately. So I'm just using, it's like Rimmel London. I literally buy it from Shoppers Drug Mart. Bronzer. Forgot what it was called for a second. And I'm using the Morphe E48. This is a good just like all over the face bronzer brush. And I normally focus my bronzer up onto the outer corners of my face. So it's like a 3 on each side of your face that I focus my bronzer on, if that makes sense. So now we contour, and I'm using the Tarte Pro Glow Contour Kit. I've had this for literally a million years, And I honestly don't even open this other side. I literally only ever open this side. And as you can tell, I need a new one. Yeah, we're gonna brush that just right into, I'm using a Morphe E4 brush, and I'm just dusting that into my smile lines. Okay, next up is blush. Blush is my favorite. I'm using the Tarte. As you can tell, I think I like Tarte. I use a lot of Tarte. I'm using the Tarte Captivating, is this called? Blush. It's just like the single palette blushes. And I'm brushing that all over my cheekbones. And a little tiny bit over your nose to make it look like you got some sun, even though we didn't. Okay. What's next? Am I forgetting something? No. Okay, so after I'm done all my face stuff, before I do my highlighter, I like to give my face a nice big spritz with setting powder, so my face is a little bit damp before I put my highlighter on. So I'm using the Continuous Setting Mist from Morphe. This is like the best setting spray ever because, as it says, it literally just mists over your face. I'm actually just gonna go right ahead and do my highlighter. So I dab a little bit on the center of my nose, and then one line down my nose, and then I always just rub it in a little bit with my finger. Cheeks. So I'm just gonna dust this a little bit on my cheeks up here. We're gonna dust that a little bit on our foreheads, and also just a little bit on top of my lip. Ooh. I love being shined up. It's my favorite. Okay, calm down, Taylor. Okay, so now let's move on to under eyes. So if you watched my last video, you know that I always hold something underneath. This has foundation on it, I'm sorry. I always hold something underneath my eye when I'm doing the eyeshadow underneath my eye, just so I don't get any fallout onto my face. There's nothing I hate more than getting eyeshadow fallout onto a fresh caked face. It's just not good. You don't want that. So it's a Morphe E32. I don't really know how to describe this brush, but it's just like a flat end buffing brush. I found it at Morphe the last time I was there, and I absolutely fell in love with the way it works under the eyes. So I'm going to take this nice golden brown color right here, and we're just going to buff it right underneath our eyes. Okay guys, I went ahead and popped on some lashes and some lipstick off camera. I'm wearing the same one as I was last video. It's my favorite velour liquid lip. It's style Leo from Jeffree Star. And my lashes are from JC Luxury Lashes. They're actually local out of Edmonton, so if you're looking for a good local brand to support and you need some new lashes, hit up JC Luxury Lashes. I hope you enjoyed this more neutral smoky eye. If you give it a shot, definitely tag me on Instagram. I'll leave my handle here. Maybe. But yeah, let me know if you liked it. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe, bell, ding, all that. If you liked it. I'm the worst at ending these things, so I'm just gonna say bye. See you guys later.